them faint but clear. That afternoon, Daisy went to the Asheville Historical Society. Hours passed like minutes as she combed through property records and census archives. And then she found it, Thomas H. Whitmore, watchmaker, Grove Street, 1962. A receipt from his store had been in the satchel. Her heart raced as she pieced it together. A marriage notice in 1955, a daughter named Rose in 1957. But after 1963, their names vanished completely. No records, no deaths, just silence. It was as if they'd been erased. Daisy left the library clutching copies of old directories and photographs, her mind spinning. Maybe they'd fled, maybe something had happened. But deep down, she already knew the Cadillac had been their vault, a time capsule built out of desperation and love. That night, under the hum of the single bulb above her workbench, Daisy finally picked up the sealed envelope. Her hands trembled as she cracked the red wax. Inside was a single typed letter, yellowed at the edges, each keystroke uneven like the writer's hands were shaking. "To the one who finds this, I hope you're kind," it began. Daisy swallowed hard and kept reading. The letter was from Thomas Whitmore. He wrote of the robberies that destroyed his family's jewelry store, the threats that followed, and his desperate decision to hide what remained, their heirlooms, their letters, their memories, in the only safe place he knew, his car. "If you are reading this," he wrote, "it means I failed to protect it in my time. Please find my family. Tell them we were never running. We were protecting what we loved." The letter ended abruptly, no signature, just the imprint of one last keystroke, a silent goodbye. Daisy sat frozen. Her eyes burned with tears as she realized she wasn't just holding paper. She was holding a man's final act of love, sealed in metal and time. And for the first time in years, she cried not from exhaustion, but from purpose. She wasn't just restoring a car anymore. She was restoring a legacy. For days, Daisy transformed her garage into an investigation board. Newspaper clippings, photocopies, maps, all pinned above her workbench. She dug through archives, public records, genealogy sites. Each night she got a little closer. Then one evening her search paid off, a marriage record. Rose Whitmore, 1975, Charleston, South Carolina. Daisy's heart pounded as she made the call to a local archivist. 3 days later, an email confirmed it. Rose Whitmore Mallister was alive. A volunteer at a small Baptist church in Charleston. The drive from Asheville was long, but Daisy hardly noticed the hours. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tighter with each mile, her mind rehearsing how to explain what she'd found. By the time she arrived, Sunday service had just ended. Families spilled out of the church, their laughter echoing in the warm Carolina air. And then Daisy saw her, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and a floral scarf, laughing with friends. Daisy approached slowly, heart hammering. "Are you Rose?" she asked softly. Rose turned, startled. "Yes." Daisy extended the envelope. "I believe this belonged to your father." The moment Rose saw the handwriting, her expression changed. Shock, recognition, then tears. "I haven't seen this since I was a child," she whispered. And in that instant, time folded in on itself. Inside Rose's cozy living room, surrounded by faded photographs and the scent of coffee, the two women sat side by side as Daisy laid out the letters, jewelry, and satchels. Rose's hands trembled as she touched the items, whispering her parents' names like prayers. "He hid all this to keep us safe," she said through tears. Daisy listened quietly, humbled by the gravity of what she had brought back. The next weeks were a blur of emotion. Back in Asheville, Daisy restored the Cadillac with a reverence she'd never known. Every stroke of sandpaper, every bolt tightened was done with care, not just for the car, but for the story it carried. When the engine finally roared to life, it wasn't just noise, it was a heartbeat. Rose came to see it, bringing her daughter and grandson. When the tarp came off, 3 generations gasped. The Cadillac gleamed like new, as if time itself had been forgiven. Rose's daughter whispered, "It smells like Grandpa's cologne." Daisy froze. She hadn't used any. Maybe, just maybe, some things linger beyond reason. That night, under soft mountain light, Rose handed Daisy the keys. "You're not just a mechanic," she said, voice trembling. "You're the keeper." Daisy cried quietly, realizing she hadn't just rebuilt a car, she'd resurrected a family's past. When Daisy finally sat behind the wheel, the setting sun painted the mountains gold. The Cadillac purred softly, steady and alive, as if it knew its story had found its ending. She imagined Thomas Whitmore's hands once gripping the same wheel, his hopes sealed beneath the leather, trusting that someday someone would listen. And now, here she was, a woman once told she was just a mechanic, now the bridge between memory and time. That night she held a small open house. People came from all over, veterans, families, children, each one drawn by the story of the car that remembered love. Daisy stood before them, voice steady, saying, "Every one of us carries something that matters, a story, a memory, a legacy. All it takes is someone willing to listen." The room fell silent, then applause. And as she turned back to the Cadillac, gleaming in the low light, she smiled through her tears. Because she knew engines may fade, but stories never die. They wait for hands like hers. And to everyone listening now, remember, some histories aren't buried in books. They're buried in hearts, waiting for someone brave enough to bring them back to life. If you believe stories like this deserve to live, don't forget to subscribe, because some engines carry more than horsepower. They carry history.